It's a community he had lived for nearly 12 years, and on his uh, uh, way out of the community, people assemble to ask him questions about the things that matter to them. You find married women asking about marriage, parents asking about children, friendship, and quite a lot of things. So what we are discussing is his responses to these questions, and we've looked at it started with love, quite naturally, because he seems to emphasize in this work that the ultimate attainment of man is genuine divine love, and it is only natural that the work started with a discussion about love. Today we'll look at marriage, and what Kahlil Gibran had to say. So I'm happy to have you, Lukman. Thank you. So um, then Al-Mitra spoke again and said, "And what of marriage, master?" And he answered, saying, "You are born together, and together you shall be." For even Muslim understanding of spouses, that your spouse is a part of you. And I understand and I know in Sufi thoughts, identifying your spouse is among the secrets you are meant to unravel. You seek to, because they believe that there is a secret purpose for every creation, and that as you keep seeking for answers, you are coming closer to this secret, and your spouse is one of this secret. It is something right inside of you, but you have no way of knowing until you struggle. And the Sufi thought believes, and I think most spiritual thoughts believe that you don't achieve anything without struggle, without effort. Even things as close as being a part of you, right from birth. You don't have a way of knowing it. That's simply what this is saying. But that you have been meant for each other, and because we are programmed to think along physical world, we do not, this kind of statements will actually look confusing, because it is not like you were born together as twins. The connection is not really physical. It is largely spiritual at the level of the soul. And you may be living separately for many years, and each progress you make, you're coming closer to unraveling what is actually a part of you. I think that's what I get. I don't know if you have a different view, different from.
That's just similar to what I've been thinking about the interpretation of that.
Yes.
What is confusing here,
Yes.
if it were to confuse it, if somebody considers it just in the physical sense, when the author says you are born together, you know that you are not born together. That's
Yes.
physically.
Yes.
Then even before you were born,
Yes.
your soul has been alive.
Absolutely.
So even though you were born at different times,
Yes.
God has made you spouses
Yes. Yes.
even before you were born.
Yes.
And even after your death,
Yes.
you are still, your souls are still together.
Yes.
So I think that's what probably the author means.
Yes. Yes. And that ultimately, none of you would have married a different person.
Yes,
outside
exactly.
them.
No matter how you try.
You shall be together when the white wings of death scatter your days. So now, another very interesting thing, your togetherness doesn't, end with death. And even you, if you can forget, if you can move on, marry someone else, move on, but you don't change the memory.
Yes, you can't change it.
And probably you have built together something, maybe in the form of children, that will continue to go on, whether you are both deaf or not. And even if you are deaf along with the children, that memory of you two having so children is still there, and it shall be so recognized consistently. So I think seems to say that you and your spouse are are eternally, meant to be together.
Yes.
Even when perhaps you are not physically on this world, either before or after, but the moment, so now, even though sometimes you are born at different, which is really very common, mostly you find the husband being older than the wife by 2 3 or even more years. So even if the period of your birth are entirely different, it doesn't still change the fact that you are meant for each other and you are born for each other. Largely, I think that's and that should disabuse, or that should dispel this belief that one would say that, see, I've married you and understand that I'm helping you by marrying.
Yes, you are not helping
You are
anybody.
not. You are just
You're
working into
fulfilling.
your reality.
Yeah. And I think when you look at it from another angle, from the Islamic faith,
Yes.
that if it happens that you and your spouse are going to paradise,
Yes.
and we know from prophetic relations that
Yeah.
you are going to be reunited as
Yes.
spouses there.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it means that you have been spouses
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and transcending to the paradise or
Yeah.
heaven, you are going to be reunited.
Yeah, and there is an explanation given by Umar Farooq Abdallah of men when the souls were first created, and he said that there are instances when you see people and immediately it comes to your mind that, look, I know this face.
Yes.
Where have I seen you? You just feel that you are.
There is that connection
That
between you,
connection.
even though you have never met.
Yes, and so the explanation he gave is that, look, you have met at the point, at the level of your soul.
Yes.
It is that familiarity. You have lived in a world that only helped you to forget your reality.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why you cannot remember, but the
then
soul sees.
remember,
Yeah.
because of the connection you had.
Yeah. So this is very important for me because I am teaching metaphysics yesterday, and I'm trying to get people to understand that, okay, well, there is a world beyond the material world, and how do we conceive it? I think it is one of the most difficult classes I've ever one of the difficult things I've ever taught, because it happens that I'm teaching people who never ever contemplated about even themselves, let alone
Contemplating
about the
nature,
world,
yeah.
or the nature. And it was just frustrating that no matter how you try to get people to understand that, you see, you are just a physical manifestation of some divine handwriting. People get only more confused. You just have to give up and hope that you don't end up with high blood pressure one day.
Teaching
Yes.
courses that have to do with thinking.
Oh yeah.
It's really more difficult than teaching calculus.
Oh yeah. People don't want to think.
Yes.
And
Because
we
it's
have
difficult.
to.
We are just lazy.
We're lazy, and you cannot discover yourself without thinking, and when you don't discover yourself,
there's no way you can discover your own surrounding, talk less of the outside world.
yeah. And the problem is that people are not meant to learn these things right from childhood. And I think it is important we restructure our educational system to help people begin to think at an early stage. People think, but thought has to be, programmed. Young people think, but you find young people thinking about things that they are familiar with all the time. You have to make effort to draw their attention to things that actually matter. You have to, in fact, coach the way they think. They think about all sort of nasty games here and there. How do you reprogram them to now begin to think about the world, the cosmos, the universe, themselves, their relationship to others, the purpose of their creation? And they have far more, powerful mental capabilities than when they are older. But you find out that at the when they start transitioning into adulthood, when they begin to realize that, look, we are all to ourselves and no one else, they begin to realize that, look, we have not gotten an people are saying that, when did we even grow up? Because they have not been, their parents have been doing the thinking for them. People have been making all the decisions for them, and not as if sometimes the parents are even doing the proper thinking themselves. But
yeah,
so now the kids are left alone to now think for themselves, but they were never prepared for it. They got scared, and that frustration sometimes throws people into frustration, into confusion, depression. And once you make the mistake at that stage to define the world within material terms, or within what is familiar to you only, chances are that you miss the road entirely and nobody will ever rescue you. So that training people to think from childhood helps them to transition easily from childhood to adulthood, and they will have a more purposeful adulthood. But an adult bereft of the abilities to think is just a young child living the realities of his biological progression, nothing else.
I think one of the negative impacts or effects of and not teaching kids how to have independent thought of themselves,
Yes.
As they grow older, because they are not taught to think.
Yes.
Even in schools,
Yes.
what they were taught in school was to just assimilate what they are taught and give it back during examination without having to think. So without having independent thought and independent voice as they grow older, instead of them to be harnessed, their thinking faculty to be harnessed to know right from wrong, they would become very naive. They will be easily indoctrinated by any kind of wrong information they might consume on the internet, because as you know, there are a lot of trash in the internet. But so long as the child knows what is actually right and what is wrong, and he has that independent thinking faculty, he will not be easily indoctrinated or easily misled. So I think this is one of the problems of
and another manifestation of how the quality of our thought or thinking has gone low is in the policies you see in the society. The level of policies the governments make have gone down, such that very simplistic solutions are applied to complex, sophisticated issues. And people now, instead of providing simple solutions to complex issues, they provide complex solutions to simple issues, and they never ever succeed in solving them. Because nobody is thinking. The quality of thought is entirely down. Nobody wants to think, and these people who we never trained to think are now in position to determine what policies we are governed with, what institutions we build, and even to interpret existing policies becomes very difficult for them. They look at the what superficial part of a complex policy and then implement it, when the crux of that policy is even entirely something else. So first of all, a child has to be taught to think about himself and ask the question, who am I? And be helped to answer it, that I am XYZ. And why am I here?
What is the purpose of my
Yeah.
coming to this world?
Yes. Is it an accident? Okay, even if it is an accident, it has now happened. What am I to do? Okay, you now begin to define. Okay, how is the universe now organized or programmed? Okay, that is good and bad. Which one do I want to become? It is better you think and decide to be bad than to never think and find yourself being bad.
Yes.
So these are the questions we don't answer, we don't even ask, and that's why you see people who come from humble backgrounds waste their time trying to live a false life, to live up to some misbegotten belief in the society of showing that yes, I'm something, we are from here, and living an entirely fake life, when what you are supposed to do is actually to say, look, I come from this background, how do I build myself and also become successful in some way, define what success means and so on. But nobody does that. So we should be thankful if we are doing that, even if we are doing it badly, we should still be thankful because
We're still doing it.
yeah. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Okay, let us also dissect this part. Let there be spaces in your togetherness. It is paradoxical. How can there be spaces in togetherness? And I think from experience, there are largely people who don't like attachment. I personally detest it. I don't like it. In fact, I don't get attached to anything. Me, the way I operate is that I can attach myself to someone.
If you don't want anybody,
But I don't want anyone to. And because I know how difficult it is for me to deal with attachment, I also restrain myself from how I attach myself to others. I make sure I define a clear framework. I have a clear, organized way of attaching myself to people on specific things, on purpose-driven attachment, not just attachment of just being as if you are getting obsessed with
obsession.
Yeah. Nobody likes it. Attachment. So now many people have this weakness that they don't feel being themselves without being attached to something, and that attachment helps them to fill up their emptiness. You will always be suffering from emptiness if you don't define your purpose. You don't know why you are living, so you will keep trying to look for how to fill up the inner space you inherently have. But when you define your purpose, you know why you are living, that drive, that effort you make to achieve that purpose will fill you up with some sense of satisfaction, a sense of wholesomeness such that you can now enjoy. You can be a friend to yourself. You can be able to, have conversations with yourself. Think about yourself. Think about what, but enjoy your aloneness.
Yes, exactly.
But
That's solitude.
that, yeah, but but so people think that there is a limitation to that, of that free world where you live alone and enjoy being. People think that there is a limitation. Once you are married, you don't enjoy that. It is not true. If marriage is not a possession, you don't go into marriage just so that someone makes you. Humans are not materials that you possess and then.
Yes.
No. I think you don't have to to openly display that extraordinary attachment which you now see falls as they really are, to feel you are married. No, if you don't mentally know that you are married, there is no amount of physical closeness that can say that. And if you prioritize that, it is normal. It depends on how the people are. Some people are okay with attachment, but I strongly think that people who are okay with attachment have certain realities we don't understand. They have certain, so you will extremely be in love with someone, and still don't feel the need to be
that
to that
physical.
attachment.
Yes.
I think I don't know how to put it, but that's problematic. And
Okay, I want to ask you this.
Yes.
Is there some different biological interpretation of that physical attachment between male and female sexes?
biological interpretation.
Like how women feel about attachment in marriage and how men feel about it, even though there might be exceptions.
You see, honestly, Lukman, what I will say is a bit may make some people feel uncomfortable, especially these few weeks that I see a lot of debates about, Ariwa men, women, educated women, and so on. Thankfully, I only get to know about them when it is over. So, naturally, I'm not speaking for men, but most of the men I know, myself inclusive, don't have entirely different interpretation of their relationship with women. Naturally, women perceive men as largely the center of their life. That men are at the center of their lives because they are largely meant to love just one person, but men are only complemented by women. So most of the time, we think from different points of view. Women want to feel that, see, this thing, this guy, this man we have has to always prove that he is ours. Men say that, okay, I have married you, I come back to this house for you all the time. I all these things I've been doing, if they are not enough to prove that
I belong to you.
yes, so what more do you want? And men also don't want that idea that they are possessed naturally. Because what you see, we have our mothers, we have our wives. They treat us differently.
Yes.
Our mothers still do not stop legitimizing for themselves the rights they have over us.
Yes.
So your mother would still treat you as if you are a child growing up before her, just so that she reminds you that. So now the rights she has over you, you don't fulfill them because she's your mother. No, she has done so many things to you even as a grown-up person, and she still continues to do that, such that you know very well that what you are doing to her,
it's not up to expectation.
yes, when you are expecting that it is time you look after her and do all these things, she would do 10 times more of what if you give them money, for instance, if you give your mother money, for instance, she would end up spending a large part of the money doing something to you.
Yes.
And if you give her an item, no matter how little, the amount of appreciation you'll see in her far outweighs
the physical manifestation of the gift.
Yes. So now, whatever she demands of you, that way you just submit yourself to her. But in the case of women, because you took them from their parents, they now begin to think that okay, now everything is a right, and they largely don't care about legitimizing for since you have brought us, we have a right over you and you have to fulfill it. And men are inherently arrogant. When you begin to insist that this is your right, that's when you see the problem. That's when the problem. But even that one, as you grow, you soften. You begin to really look beyond that. You become calmer, more cool-headed, and so on. And that is why when you get married, it has to take really long before the two of you collapse into some reasonable understanding. Otherwise, there will be ground standing from both ends. Yes. I left our house, you have to fulfill this, and yes. Okay, I have come and force me.
Yes.
This kind.
Yes.
So we perceive it differently, really, and not until we live for really some time, we don't really understand that we have to both adjust. But largely the adjustment is that okay, you give each other a space, reasonable space in terms of decision making, in terms of what your hobbies are, what you want to do. That is one thing about women. You see, sometimes women don't want to think about responsibilities. It's not like that they are not I'm not saying they're incapable of taking responsibilities. No, they don't want to think about them. So chances are that okay, a woman will have money, she wants to go to the market, buy clothes for herself, she wants you to recommend the cloth for you, for her. When she buys the cloth so they naturally try to avoid thinking about things, so they don't want to take the responsibility of thinking. And men feel that, okay, this is not my business, do what makes you happy.
Yes, yes,
So they want to cook, they have something
have something in mind, but they still ask for your opinion. What you
yes, and men are like, see,
just cook whatever.
If I can eat, I will eat. If I cannot eat, at least cook for yourself and move on. Just enjoy.
Yes.
And
you don't want that problem.
Yes, and that's what that reminds me of what my boss used to say, that okay, when you get married, don't expect that you will go into get to the marriage. You don't expect that you are going in to be happy. Take the responsibility. You are taking happiness into it. It is entirely different that you get married and you are waiting and expecting
finding happiness and taking happiness into it.
No, he said that don't think that you are going into a marriage to find happiness.
Yes.
He is in fact saying that go into marriage because you are taking along happiness into it. Yes. And I think is a better way of thinking about it.
Yes, I'm just trying to differentiate.
That's basically it.
Like there is an article or book I read about something similar to that, saying that marriage is like an empty vessel.
Yes.
You put it in what you want.
Yes.
If you want happiness, you put your effort to bring the happiness.
Yes.
Otherwise, it will be otherwise.
Yes.
So it's left to you.
Yes. And let the winds of heaven dance between you. Very good. Winds of heavens is metaphorical expression here to mean, allow some space in which you, by allowing the winds to dance in between you, is that he meant to say that space you create amongst yourself is actually the measure of what happiness you may have, because when the usage of the term heaven, the winds of heaven, is largely an expression of happiness, of joy. And let the winds of heavens dance between the two of you, that there should be some measurable space, because some men and women live as if they are some orderlies to each other. A man asking his wife, bring your phone, put the password, why did you change the password, when did you do that, open your chat, who is that, why did you save the number XYZ, okay, who is he, call him, or call her, let me be sure she's the one, or the woman's asking the man, where have you gone, who are you with, call your friend, let's confirm, which of your friends is there, as if if you don't trust each other that much, why did you get married in the first place? And if you don't trust each other, just go your separate ways. Simple as that. But it's like someone going into his house, he has to get his phone almost reset all over again before he goes, and then when he goes, because fakery is now all over, he will drop the phone on the table so that anyone interested come and have it, but not knowing that he has erased everything,
any suspicious
all this. In fact, the phone has been reset. So that's you are living in a hell.
Bondage.
It's bondage. You are living in a prison. So I think allow yourself this space to be happy, to enjoy your aloneness. There are things that will bring you together. When take those things to their fullest, but enjoy all the things that you need to do alone. Why do you have to stress yourself? If you don't trust your wife or your husband, find a way to end the marriage and go and live with people you trust. Simple as that. But
why do you have to complicate matters?
Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. As if this particular statement, you know, typifies what sometimes women do. For instance, it will be hard for a man to say, okay, this is your food, okay, let me test it. It is. I don't do it. Most of the men I know don't do it. It is hard for them to say, okay, this you are drink, okay, you have your own drink. She has her own.
drink. Let everybody take
Yes, but women will rather, leave their own,
Taste yours.
test your own. And that reminds me of a very embarrassing story that had happened to one of my friends, and he had warned me not to ever mention it. It happened really very long. He went to a restaurant with one lady, and I think these were times when is it McDonald's or Mr. Biggs were in town, and everyone was rushing to demystify what is in that.
Yes.
So he took her there after a savings of many days and weeks. And
Yeah.
so when he went there, they ordered for food, and he said, "Okay, bring Coke." And then they asked him whether it would be normal or
Diet Coke.
Coke Zero, right?
Yes.
And so it is a new thing.
Let's try the new thing.
Yeah. So it was brought to him, and then he tested it. Said he called the attendant and said, "Look, this Coke. It's not like he doesn't like it. That it is, is it expired or something? No, take it back, and they took it back and said, okay, let me also test your own. He took a test of the lady's own Coke, and then he tested it and said, look, this one too is expired. So and the lady told him that, no, I think this is how Coke Zero tests. He said he doesn't care. So when he went out, he took an experiment and confirmed that actually what he did was actually a huge embarrassment. So immediately he stopped seeing the girl, and he told me and warned me that, okay, he knows that when I get to hear this, I can't hold it to so I should never say
This is really embarrassing.
He's this type of a guy who has always lived in embarrassment, and he doesn't care. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Yes, please.
Like more explanation to the previous stuff.
Yeah, yes. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Very good. There are instances when you have to do things together.
Yes.
There are things that will naturally bring you together. But when such things come, enjoy it to the fullest. Do it with all commitment together. But beyond that, let no one force onto the other the need to really be together perpetually. No. There are things that will naturally bring you together. Embrace them. Things that you need to do alone, do it alone. But some people, because there is dishonesty everywhere, people are fake. So things that you will do naturally and move on, you have to go and it's as if you are trying to prove that you're innocent. I keep telling women I know that when you see a man being nice, he's dishonest. This is a typical example of how a dishonest man is, because you don't have to be you call her, I say, I'm visiting Lukman, I am with Lukman. Okay, I have come, I'm now in his sitting room, we are watching movie, and his kids, and okay, great one of his kids, and most of the men who do this are dishonest. That 5-10 minutes that you don't hear from only God knows what they do. Yes. Even as the sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Yeah. A lute is a musical instrument with strings.
Yes.
So he is saying that, okay, in the same way, they don't have to be
Physically together.
yes, but
they make the same sound when it's talk.
Yeah. So be like that, yes. Please. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. Yes, please. If you are not responsible for your heart, don't expect someone will take care of your moods, your anger. People, look, man, even as close as a husband and wife are, people, everyone has a lot in their individual life.
Yes.
You think that, okay, I was trying to obtain an explanation from a medical doctor that when you have pain, you don't feel the intensity of the pain until it is late at night, and I'm wondering why. I they working with some evil spirits and
yes, that gets activated at night.
No, when you are too busy with things, you don't remember, you don't pay so much attention to how you feel. So that helps you to that regulates the feeling you have, and it makes sense. So even the pain in your body, if you are too busy with other things, you don't get to let alone someone else's problem. So someone is bored. Okay,
how does that go to do?
This person has eaten food, has clothing, lives in. So you begin to, okay, that person, once you confirm that person is well, medically fit, he is he's well fed and all the necessities, and that person is still not okay. You try to yes, while you feed the physical body, there is also the emotions that needs to be
filled as well.
But largely, who feels that? You
feel it yourself, of course.
When you're happy, you have laid the foundation that some on which someone can make you happier. But when you are unhappy, it will really be difficult for anyone to make you.
You have to set the foundation.
Yes,
first.
so largely when you are unhappy or bored, try to seek a way out from within you. It is when you are happy that if the soil is not fertile, who can grow anything there? So it is the soil that is fertile that attracts. So when you are always bored, what is wrong with this human being? That you are always bored. It is not. You are not living in a drama world. In a real, enjoy it, But people want others to help them enjoy
what adds to this kind of problem are movies. People want what happens in the movies to happen in real life. Forgetting that that's just set up.
Look, man, it's not even set up. If people who are, see, we have to now therefore disabuse people's minds. People who are actors and actresses. One, you have a lot of them who are more bored than you are.
Yeah.
Forget about all the smiles and happiness displayed
Before the cameras.
Yes. Two, actors and actresses in movies don't even think about what they do in films the next day. They have forgotten. Sometimes they don't even remember the number of films or their names. Then they move on. So you have to also understand that they are on their own and you are on your own. It's to expect that what they do must to insist that your life must be built along the lines of what they do in movies. That is actually an invitation to perpetual boredom. You can't. It's not attainable. So I think not just movies. People are incapable of being friends with themselves, and so they want someone elsewhere to come and make them happy. So give your hearts, okay, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. Honestly, you are embrace your life, embrace this life as it is. That's where you'll find happiness. But no single entity is capable of giving you what you cannot give yourself. So most people are asking for things that they are not giving for me. Am I wasting my own happiness? so that's it. And stand together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart. And yes, they still hold the temple.
Yeah.
You have the temple. If you bring them together, the
temple will fall.
The oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadows. The oak tree is broad, and I think I don't know exactly what the cypress tree is like, but it seems to be also a very broad tree that so they grow not in each other's shadow. So they bring them together. None of them will grow as as broad.
Because of the wideness of the branches.
Yeah. And okay, are we done with? Okay, I think we are done with marriage.
Yeah.
So children.
I think before we delve into children, I want to understand a summary about the previous discussion about love and marriage.
Yes.
I think largely
Yes.
we can deduce from what we have discussed that you should love in moderation.
Yes, absolutely.
Just love in moderation.
Yes, absolutely. You
should have your own seclusion, have your own freedom.
Yes.
And no matter how close or how attached or how obsessed you feel with your partner, one day you are going to be separated.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
Yes.
Either be it death.
Yes.
Or divorce.
Yes.
Or whatever reason. But then you are not going to die together.
Yes.
And you are going to be separated.
Yes. And even if you die together, you are not going
to be buried together. Exactly. So
yes. I think
that will save you the trouble of a lot of heartbreak.
Yes. And let us also understand that there is everyone, especially men, have certain period of time in a day when they just want to be alone.
Yes, exactly.
I personally have certain amount of time in a day that I want to be alone, and if I don't get that space, I will just take my car and drive around. I have to create that aloneness for myself. So I think we should respect these things and we should be honest about them.
These are boundaries.
Yes.
That, should be clearly set.
Yes, and what you've said about moderation is very important. Not just in the case of love. In everything you do, you should seek a common ground, that
Yes.
middle ground.
Yes.
Don't do
Not
extremes.
overdo
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. So my children, and a woman who held a baby against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, "Your children are not your children." How paradoxical!
Your children are not your
And your
children.
children.
Yes.
They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself.
Yes.
They come through you but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. I think it is the same explanation about marriage, that you are born together. These children come through a process known to you, but then they are not you. They are meant to or destined to be in this world. You are only an agency,
Agent. Yes.
and
Exactly.
you have to see them. And our boss always tell us that, see, we have responsibility to provide the future, the society, people who are responsible, people who are capable of keeping the society together. Whether you call them children or not, but we have this responsibility. So they are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. Yes, life itself wants to keep
Sustain.
yes, so by giving birth it keeps on going on
Yes.
and on.
Some are dying.
Yes.
Definitely, some need to come to the world.
Absolutely. And then even much more than that, what you want from life is actually in itself what leads to largely within the context of your desire.
Yes.
And so if life is by your desires, then it is through these desires that you get yourself to have more children.
Yes.
And but what this I don't want us to delve into, to a very sensitive debate that in the West has taken scholars and universities many years to look at, the question of abortion, which in constitutionally is acceptable in many countries, but by common sense, if you don't want to look at it from theological point of view, but by common sense, I think abortions are not really. I am extremely, opposed to it, even if there is no
Religious.
Interpretation interpretation, because I am a reminder that I am being selfish if I should think along those lines. If someone had taken the same decision, I wouldn't have come to this world. So without religion, you should have known that. It's as simple as that. You are not better than the child coming. But then there is this case of rape and so on and so on, and people want to justify that, okay, in the case of rape, how do you deal with such things? I think we cannot take exceptional issues to create general rules for things that are actually very accidental. And even the case of rape and so on, they have you have to study rape separately without the question of abortion and other things. Study rape for what it is, understand it, understand the peculiarities before you begin to create excuses for abortion because of it. There are two. We have to be clear. We have to be able to establish rape. We have to be able to establish rape for what it is before we draw any margin with, or before we establish
a correlation between rape
so and then also Another very important thing this is telling us is that, okay, it is supporting marriage. Marriage is what actually sustains and ensures that life goes on.
Yes, that continuity.
That continuity and marriage. So when you are getting married as a man, you have to understand that you are going into, a contract that necessitates that you will be you will provide, you will protect, and you will reproduce. You must procreate. These 3 P's. It's just like you buying a car and complaining about fueling it. How is it? If you have to be prepared for it, and if you are going to get married, you have to think along those lines. You have to. So no matter how beautiful you want your life to look like, life has to be there. And for it to be there, we have to continue to procreate. But it's different when there are some medical, biological realities that does not allow for that. And if it doesn't allow for that, there are a lot of other things we can do. We can tend for society, we can tend for nature, we can tend for the large number of orphans and so on and so on. That and the way in which God designed this world is so beautiful that you cannot find an error.
Yes.
There are orphans, but then there are women who are barren, or men who are incapable of procreating, and so they have avenues through which they can also contribute to life by looking after them, adopt these orphans, unaccompanied kids, lost kids, and so on. A lot of so I think we have to be clear about that. And now that explanation that, okay, unrestricted birth is the reason why people are poor, and so on and so forth, as if, look at the silliness of man. You were born, you are not the reason of someone else's poverty, and you think that someone else who is going to be born. We are talking about, people take the subject of irresponsibility and then apply it to marriage. If someone gives birth and typically does so knowing too well that he's not ready to take care of that children, it is entirely
the interpretation
different.
is different.
That is an irresponsible man.
And that is different.
That is different.
Entirely different from the child coming to
Yes.
the world.
Now, someone who is married, trying his best to live within his means, gets 2-3 more children, and then you tend to think that, okay, because this person is poor, he shouldn't really. Why should he even give birth? As if it is something one can control. That one decision you are imposing on people. Today. If it was taken in your case, you wouldn't have been there, let alone giving people this sermonizing nonsense. Because largely man doesn't look onto himself when he makes this assertive conclusions about some other people's life. We structure the society according to how we look at it, and I think largely this account from the prophet is telling us that, look, these things are the way they are, and we can hardly even influence them, because life has to go on, and the only way it can go on is when procreation does not cease, when procreation goes on. But we are doing look at the countries where they tampered with birth. Today they are recording demographic disparities. You have countries having 300 million old people, 300 million people 70 and above, and this is posing economic threats to these countries, because how do you take care of 300 million, paying them pensions for not working? They are incapable of contributing, even at the level of providing, consultancy or advices as old people. The world has moved from the way it is when they are in their 30s or 40s. So when they were tampering with their populations because of the immediate economic realities of their time, they do not know that in the future this might come hard against them, and it is happening. Japan is battling with an older population. They're very old. India is battling. China has over 300 million people who are old, 70 and above. So in 20 years, 20 to 30 years, they are predicting that they will stand to lose 300 million people, and largely these 300 million people are the most educated. The government had invested in them much more than any part of the population, and so within 30 years they cannot also prepare the generations behind them because they tampered with bars. And this is what people want to say. And look at the indices of development in all the developed countries. Most of them, population plays a very important role. If you don't know how to manage your population, that is your problem. But don't say that you should have to control both. No, manage your population.
Harness
it.
The population.
I think is a better argument for me than to say that this is we are backward because of birth and so. So I think we will stop at this point, and when we come next week, we will look at the subject of children more holistically, and so in any case we have to leave it here. Thank you for being part of today's talk. I hope that you will keep a date with us in the subsequent editions. So from me and Lukman, I wish you a great time ahead.